Bike engine cars, nothing new then. 1910 Morgan produced a three-wheel bike engine car. It blew the doors off everything else in motorsport. Since then they've been called quirky, they've been called silly, they've been called strange. Well, that's for everybody except Pell Automotive, who decided that bike engine cars should be taken a bit more seriously. And this is theirs, the Pell Genesis.
We caught up with the man responsible for the Genesis, Tim Pell.
Well, I think I've got to ask you first question.
Yeah.
Why did you put a bike engine in a mid-engine car?
It's a bit different, really.
Right.
We just fancy something different to drive, completely different driving experience, which it is.
Well, it is. I have driven it, and it's wonderful.
Right.
I've got to know, how did you manage to fit the engine in?
The engine itself is no problem. It's mainly the drive to a differential at the back.
Right, with it being chain driven, obviously.
With it being chain driven, yes, and also having a reverse gear as well.
How have you overcome these problems?
We've got a separate gear lever at the side of the vehicle, which fits to the right hand side when you sit in the cockpit, which actually has a high ratio, a low ratio and a reverse for the 6-speed sequential gears on the Kawasaki gearbox.
So how does it affect the actual driving? I mean, there we go, a bike engine, it revs up to 11,000, 12,000 revs. How is it?
It's just different, completely different. Gear change is a lot faster. You can't block change your gears like you can on the car, you know, go from fifth to second. So it's just a bit more concentration involved, you know, driving the car.
Right.
You know.
Well, how did you come up with the body shape? It's a beautiful looking car.
We actually started off with a 10th shape model, which obviously starting off with something that size, you can hack it about, do whatever you like with it, which is a lot easier than on a full-size car. Made that to what we, you know, the shape we wanted, and then basically transferred it, you know, to a full-scale car.
Was there any thought gone into the handling of the car while you were designing it? I know it's a great handling little car anyway, but did you actually think about that whilst designing it, or was it once you had it rolling and going, did you look at it then?
No, we sort of thought about why the car wanted to be how long, went to a suspension designer, he did all the suspension points to make sure it handled okay, and it's all worked out really well.
It has that, and held together superbly. It's got a lovely little boot in the front as well, a lot bigger than...
Yes, it has.
Now the car I drove wasn't actually the bike, it's under development, isn't it?
That's right.
With the new roof. Now, what was it that I drove?
It was the card engine powered one, which is a Peugeot 205 GTI 1.9 engine.
It's a lovely engine, that, as we all probably know.
To Audi 5-speed gearbox, which keeps the engine in the inline configuration.
Right. How did that little turnabout come around from a bike engine to a 205?
It's just to give the car a different option, really. Give it more scope, you know.
Is it as easy build putting in the 1.9 as to the bike engine?
Yeah, neither of them's particularly, you know, hard.
How much sort of money am I talking to build myself one of these?
Right. The car engine one, you're looking from £9,000, and the bike engine one, a little bit over 10,000.
Right, and obviously I can buy it in any sort of stage?
Right. Any stage, yes.
Right, and how long would you suggest one of these would take for me to build?
From 200 hours, sort of depending how
competent.
That's right.
As I've said, I have driven this. I drove the 1.9 version, and I really did enjoy myself. The handling is fantastic, and that Peugeot engine behind you purring away is just brilliant. First, second and third power is fantastic. Now, I've said it about many cars I've driven, as you'll all remember, that I'm not going to give them back. This one, I personally wouldn't. If it was up to me, I would take this home with me this evening. Well, they're not going to let me, but what they have said is I can have one more little go before I go home. So bye.